Okay, so the pelvic vascular system, this shouldn't be as long as the other PowerPoints. So looking at the aorta and coming down from the aorta, I told you I wanted you to know from the celiac trunk on down. So here's the celiac trunk, and you have your splenic artery and your common hepatic artery. Heading down, we have our superior mesenteric artery with your right and left renal arteries. Coming down, we have gonadal arteries up top, and then along the sides, we have your lumbar arteries. You have your inferior mesenteric artery. Here is your iliac bifurcation. You have your right common iliac, and then you have the right internal common iliac and your left external common iliac. Once we pass over the right inguinal or the inguinal ligament on either side, we're now at the femoral artery. Okay? So looking here, you have your right common iliac and your left common iliac artery, and your left internal iliac artery and your left external iliac artery. So as you can see here, we're below the bifurcation. So looking here, coming down, we have the lumbars on the side and the gonads on the top. And then here's your iliac bifurcation. So here's the right common iliac, and here is the bifurcation again. So it goes to the external iliac artery to the internal iliac artery. And this kind of gives you an idea of what it's feeding. I'm not going to make you know all these little arteries. Okay, so here is your aorta, which is the lighter, and here you have your bifurcation to the common iliacs. Bifurcates again into your internal and external. If we are looking at the venous system, which is the darker, and we come into the femoral once we cross over. So here we are looking at the venous system. So we come up through the common iliac veins into the inferior vena cava. Then you have your right and left renal veins. So here is an angio. This is an MRA. It is pretty good. It's not great. I've seen better quality. So coming down, here's your abdominal aorta, bifurcating into your right and left common iliacs, into your external and internal iliac arteries. We'll cover the other ones as we get down into the lower extremities. So here we have your celiac trunk with your common hepatic artery to your splenic artery with your superior mesenteric artery coming off next. Then we have your renal arteries, right and left. Coming down your abdominal aorta, we have your inferior gastric, and you have your lumbars on the side and your gonads on the top. Bifurcates, and you have your right and left common iliacs, and then we go into your bifurcation again to your internal and your external iliac arteries. Comes down, and it crosses through the pelvis basically, and you are in your femoral artery. So this is just an oblique view, so you can see coming down your abdominal aorta, this is your inferior mesenteric with the bifurcation to your left common iliac to your internal and external. And then as it passes through the pelvis, you go to your femoral artery. Just another picture here, bifurcation, you can see the internal feeds the internal organs where the external goes deep into your femoral artery. So with your artery and arterial and venous system laid on top of each other, you get an idea of what we're looking at. So here we have your celiac trunk with your splenic artery and your common hepatic to your superior mesenteric with your gonads and your lumbars off to the side. You bifurcate into your right and left common iliacs, and then you bifurcate again into your internal and external iliacs down into your femoral arteries. So coming up, you have your inferior vena cava, and then you have your renal veins. We're not going to go too deep into the venous system. This is a good picture. It just kind of shows you the lymph nodes. All these little round dots are lymph nodes. So very important that we have them. Helps us protect our systems. So we have to look at these lymph nodes. So this is the hypogastric lymph nodes, and they are enlarged. That's not good. So I'm worried about some kind of cancer when we see these enlarged lymph nodes within the abdominal pelvic cavity. So here you can see bilateral obturator lymph node metastases. So big, huge lymph nodes in here. That's just not not good. So review, you have your femoral vein and your femoral artery with your lymph nodes. So when we look at the fat above the rectus abdominis muscle by the umbilicus, if there's enlarged lymph nodes by the umbilicus in the fat by the rectus abdominis, I'm concerned about gastric cancer. So we look for gastric cancer in that fat. So as you see here, we have your femoral head and your bladder with your rectum. All right, so that's it. Make sure you study up on the whole pelvic system before you come to class.